Hey friends, welcome back to Sane-ish, the podcast for anyone who's ever found themselves yelling at the news, stress cleaning their kitchen, or just wondering if sanity is even possible in 2025. I'm Jo Carducci, and I'm so glad you're here with me. If you're new, don't forget to follow, rate, and share the show, and jump into the conversation with me on social media. I want to hear your thoughts, your questions, your rants, and your moments of hope. We're building this sane-ish community together, one episode at a time. Now, speaking of sanity, or the lack thereof, today's news cycle has been a real test. Just as we were getting ready to record, news broke that the United States government has agreed to pay Ashli Babbitt's family $5 million in a settlement after her death during the January 6th insurrection. It's a headline that's already lighting up every corner of the internet, and you know the spin machines are working overtime. There's outrage, confusion, and more than a few conspiracy theories flying around. But that's not all. If you thought the grifting had stopped, think again. From Trump's wild new crypto ventures and meme coins that have made millions for a handful of insiders to foreign companies and even governments piling in for a piece of the action, the conflicts of interest are staggering. And let's not forget the latest controversy over the luxury Boeing jet from Qatar, which critics from both sides are calling out as a potential bribe and a glaring ethical mess. It's enough to make your head spin and to make you wonder how anyone is supposed to keep their grip on reality. So, how do we keep our sanity when the world feels like it's spinning off its axis? How do we separate fact from fiction and outrage from actual justice? Those are the questions we're going to dig into today. And to help us make sense of it all, I've got a guest who knows the inside story of American politics better than just about anyone. Michael Cohen, former Trump attorney, best-selling author, and someone who's made it his mission to call out the lies and the chaos, joins me today. We're going to talk about what this settlement really means, why Ashli Babbitt's story keeps getting twisted, how Trump's latest grifts are playing out from the crypto world to the tarmac in Qatar, and how we can keep our grip on reality when the world seems determined to gaslight us. Michael, thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it.
Hey, Jojo.
Hi. How are you? But I want to ask you how you are, but I also want to talk about the news that just broke right after I interviewed our mutual friend, Harry Dunn. The United States government is going to pay the family of domestic terrorist Ashli Babbitt $5 million for attacking our Capitol and being shot and killed in the process. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as I had seen it just moments ago, I actually put out onto my Substack a note that I'm very frustrated, I'm angered with our Department of Justice, with this administration. You may remember when I was unconstitutionally violated by Bill Barr and the first Trump administration, DOJ, I actually sued as well. I took my case all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States on an incredibly important topic, which is protection of individuals' First Amendment constitutional right. But as a direct result of the overturning of the Dobbs decision, that Bivens also became obsolete. And as a direct result, Supreme Court wouldn't even hear my case. Now, look, I'm upset that Ashli Babbitt, that anyone lost their lives. However, to compensate someone for what we all know to be an act that is illegal from the inception of entering the Capitol all the way to trying to break into the chamber, I just find it's wrong. And what it is just a way for MAGA to compensate the family.
Yeah. And they're rewriting history in the process because they're flipping the script on who the heroes were of that day and who the bad guys were of that day. Because now we've not only seen them all pardoned, we've seen Donald Trump threatening to, which he can't, of course, well, he can certainly try, to remove or undo the pardons that Joe Biden extended to people like our good friend and the guest that we just had on before you, Harry Dunn. So that Harry Dunn, they won't hang that plaque either in the House. Harry Dunn and Officer Gannell and the rest of the heroes who protected and defended our Capitol that day are being written as the bad guys, and the Ashli Babbitt
Jojo, they're being marginalized, right? I mean, the plaque is now sitting in a basement storage area instead of where it should be, front and center on the wall, acknowledging that our Capitol Police and others were heroes in the protection of our elected representatives. I mean, they are sane washing what is going on in this country right now. This is absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's insane is really what it is. You know, Peter Doocy with Caroline Levitt asked the question whether or not the president sees Vladimir Putin as the good guy or the bad guy. And she refused to answer the question. And I suspect if you ask Caroline Levitt, if you ask bullshit Barbie, whether or not the January 6th insurrectionists, or as this administration likes to call them, the January 6th defendants, whether they are the good ones or they are the bad ones, and whether or not people like Michael Cohen, Harry Dunn, Brian Sicknick, whether or not they are the good ones or they are the bad ones on that day. And I suspect they won't answer that question either. We are really living in bizarro land.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, and I want to get into some of your Substack posts in a second because you're killing it over there, but it makes me wonder about people I know, in my family, let's just say, people who have served in the military, who may have voted for Donald Trump. They watched the events of that day. They saw what transpired with their own eyes. They heard it with their own ears. They know that Ashli Babbitt was in the wrong. They know that, right? Like in their brains and hearts and minds, they know that. So what are people let's just say the people in the margins or in the middle on Trump, not the hardcore MAGA, but the people who held their noses and voted for him. What are they thinking when they see something like this? Do you think that they're like, no, that's fucked up. That's wrong. That's crazy. They should not be rewarded for what she did. Or do you think that they have gotten to the point now where this is whatever, par for the course?
You know, I think there's so much chaos that's coming out of DC right now. They're not even thinking, what the hell is $5 million, right? Our numbers today are so obscene that when you say $5 million, that's not even a rounding error. Not even a round, it's not even a decimal for the Department of Defense's lunch budget. Think about that, right? So, yeah, okay, Ashli Babbitt, I mean, it's a shame anybody should lose their life. But you lost your life in the commission of a crime that you and others committed. So the question becomes, what is she being compensated for? Those of us that are sitting there and trying to, I don't know, make sense out of this, we could scratch our heads all day long. But the average American, I don't think they're even thinking about it. Not when you're talking about $400 million grifts, bribes by the Qataris to the president and to, they want us to say to the country, even though Trump has made it crystal clear that he intends on using and taking this aircraft and making it part of the presidential library. All of a sudden, within the last 2 days, now it's not even going to Trump anymore. It's going to the Air Force, to the Department of Defense. That is new to me. And I'm up at 4:30 in the morning reading and writing everything. So I'm just not sure where this new commentary is even coming from. And then you start talking about even crazier stuff. It's going to cost the U.S. government almost $1 billion to pull apart that $400 million used gift that the Qataris can't sell. So now I'm saying to myself, why are we even doing that? As I wrote in my Substack, I wrote this 3 days ago. It was hysterical. Do you know what the Qatari gross domestic GDP is for the country?
No.
It's approximately $250 billion.
Oh, that's all?
A year. That's it. Do you know what the GDP of the United States is?
No.
It's like 27 trillion.
Oh, wow.
We're not even in the ballpark of one another. Not even in the ballpark. So my question that I pose in my Substack, which is a little tongue in cheek, is why are we going to let, yeah, right? So why are we going to let a country that is so economically inferior to ours bribe our president better than what we could bribe him? So my thought is, why are we letting them offer a $400 million plane? Let's counter. Let's offer him a $500 million aircraft. Let's make it not just a floating palace. Let's make it a super palace floating in the sky. By doing that, imagine we save $500 million because it'll be made in America, American products only under the proper guise, right? Where it doesn't need to be stripped and pulled apart for foreign influence.
Right.
Okay. Let's bribe him, but make him sign like a blood oath or an Frankenstein type NDA that I would create where he has to lie, cheat, grift, and steal for the people of America.
But it's very good at that.
By the way, I understand, but it makes perfect sense for us to be doing things like that. When we talk $5 million, I hate to say it, most people today, they're not even thinking about the number because it's so inconsequential to the numbers that are getting thrown around every single day by this administration.
Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. But to me, $5 million as a person would be a lot. It's actually what it symbolizes to me. Yeah. It's what it symbolizes, what it not only permisses, but what it encourages and rewards. But I think, I like your idea of bribing him. I think if you add Happy Meals and hand jobs to that plane, we might have a deal here, Michael. I'm not giving out the hand jobs or the Happy Meals, but I'm sure you could pay some force up to do it. Maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene would sign up for that work.
Isn't that Lauren Boebert?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that
she's
Lauren
too busy.
Boebert's specialty?
Yeah, she's too busy hand jobbing Kid Rock now. I guess she's whatever. By the way, I have a funny story, but I can't tell it about who that guy she was with in at the kids musical was. But let's sort of segue because this does pivot. One of your more recent Substacks is America First, Citizens Last. Trump's Golden Dome is a $500 billion boondoggle disguised as a missile defense, gutting social programs to build a floating tribute to his ego while Americans can't afford insulin or rent. This is a constant, perpetual, unyielding theme that repeats all the time. The American people, in large measure the people who voted for him, are getting screwed. They're getting told, well, you can have $2 and less 5 pencils instead of, $30 and 50 pencils. But they're spending money hand over fist, whether it's $5 million on a terrorist or $500 million on what you said here, Donald Trump's not referring to that radioactive fox pelt glued to his scalp. That is genius, by the way. It seems like the American people are the ones who are paying the brunt of all of this, as not surprising at all, right?
Yeah. Look, let me be very clear about something. It's why I just said the $5 million is an inconsequential number. We're now talking about $500 billion in something that is now going to be referred to as the Golden Dome, because Israel, who of course has the Iron Dome, iron doesn't sort of go with the Trump style, the Trump flair, right? And to be honest, it sounds more like the name on the Vegas casino than it does on a military, some strategic military initiative. But the point that I try to make, right, is that this space age umbrella that they want to design, right, is supposed to protect our country from ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, right? That would be fired from China, from Russia, from North Korea, or Iran, because apparently our current nuclear arsenal, which is capable of ending all human civilization 100 times over, well, let's just say it's not quite enough for Trump. I don't understand it. Our nuclear arsenal, if deployed, would crack the earth in half. And I want people to think about that. If deployed, it would shatter the earth into two. Forget about destroying all life on this planet, maybe except for the cockroach, which for some unknown reason seems to be able to, survive in anything other than maybe a
Like Steve Bannon.
cockroach.
Steve Bannon might make it.
Everything else. Yeah, maybe. And Stephen Miller. Everything else would die. But for whatever the reason is, this is something that we should be excited. And then I go on to explain that the level of the stupidity here makes no sense because, as I say, meanwhile, back here on planet Earth, the Trump administration is gleefully slashing funding for food assistance, public education, healthcare access, veterans affairs, and many, many more programs.
Pediatric cancer.
Social programs are being gutted to pay for this monstrosity. But don't worry, because Trump says lower prescription prices will make up the difference. We're going to have a lot of money left over, right? As if saving pennies on insulin is somehow going to cover the tab for a Death Star hovering over the state of Iowa. Completely ignoring priorities that we should, as Americans, be considering. What they're really doing is they're robbing the poor to gift wrap a golden parachute for defense contractors and Trump's tech barons.
Bingo.
I mean, I finish it by saying, while Americans are skipping doctor visits and choosing between rent and groceries, Doge, which I call the Department of Grift and Excess, they're dreaming up a space shield with a price tag that could fix almost every single domestic crisis that we are currently facing. And that, my friends, is wrong. We're putting money into something that we just don't need.
I mean, that's the definition of Trumpism, isn't it? I mean, essentially, he wants to spread his seed all over everything so that it's his golden legacy. I'm surprised he's not freaking naming it after himself, but he kind of is because it's golden. Everything he touches is gilded in some freaking way. Look what he's done. He turned the Oval Office into freaking Saddam's palace. This Qatari plane looks like Saddam's flying palace. It's all like a Timu version of Versailles. But this is what he does. He doesn't care, and you know him, obviously. He doesn't care about anybody beneath him. He wants to enrich himself, his family, which is making $1 billion a month now. Thank you very much. His rich friends and all the privateers, contractors, you name it, people out there who he can get rich to. And maybe they owe him a favor, or maybe they owe him something for it, or whatever. It's not about the American people. It wasn't about the American people during the pandemic when Jonathan Swan asked him about 1,000 people dying a day and he said it is what it is. He was busy golfing. He doesn't care. And this stupid Golden Dome is another example. When's the last time an intercontinental ballistic missile came our way? This is the thing. I saw this great cartoon. Is Donald Trump at the Resolute desk saying, I solved another crisis I created, and JD Vance going, amazing work, sir. This is what he does. He manufactures a crisis that is not a crisis, and then he says he fixes it or addresses it, and then JD Vance sucks his dick. But it's not a reality, and none of it is designed to help the American people.
You know what they call that? It's like a political version of Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah.
They create this sort of scenario, and then he wants to be the hero for fixing it.
Yeah,
but more important than even being the hero for fixing it, he just wants people to call him a hero for fixing it. I mean, just look at any one of those ridiculous meetings that they have, the cabinet meetings, where everybody is legitimately obligated to begin every single statement with, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your geniusness, for your intellect, for your strength and your prowess in handling, America in a manner that has never been handled like this before. And it hasn't certainly been handled properly over the course of the past 4 years under the Biden administration. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Everybody's got to blow smoke up his ass all day long. Otherwise, you risk losing your job.
I honestly, sometimes, Michael, when I watch that shit in North Korea calls and they're like, you guys are just, it's too much. Dial it back. You're at an 11. You need to be at a 6. But I honestly, like, I watch that shit. I'm like, what the hell was America thinking? And I know it's a plurality of some of the dumbest folks out there, but they handed power back to this petulant fucking small in the pants toddler who's in constant need of like reinforcement. It's just gross. We had these stupid cabinet meetings before too, and everybody was grossed out by them, and now they're worse because there's more sycophancy. It's like The Apprentice with like now more ass kissing
on steroids. Jojo, imagine if before you served your children any food, before you turn around and you help them to clean up their room or to put away their toys or give them their toys, they need to say, "Mama, you're the greatest mom ever in the history of the world. You're the most sweetest, the most beautiful, the smartest, the most loving, the most happy and fun mom ever. And we're also thankful to have you as our mama." Imagine every single time that you did anything with them or for them, this is what they would have to do.
You're giving me ideas.
Right?
You're giving me ideas.
Not a bad idea, right? I would turn around and say to my kids before, like my daughter, she doesn't even yell to me to do it. She texts me, "Michael, can you make me a latte?" It's, and of course I do, but I don't forget about getting a thank you. No, God forbid on that one. It's more like, hey, it's do your job, Dad, right? Michael, do your job. And your job is to make me, one of your delicious lattes. Okay, there I go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I make mine special.
I'll bet you do. Yeah.
I do.
My kids.
She likes the extra shot of espresso.
Oh.
So I put some very fine chocolate powder on top of it, and I make it with an almond milk, which froths very, very well. Because,
you're like a barista up there. I get it.
I'm a barista.
I understand why she's texting. Yeah, my daughter called me from my phone from the next room to ask me to bring her phone. She called me on her phone. And I was like, you're like 50 feet away. Are you kidding me? You can't get up. No, I'm comfortable. Like this is, imagine if she would laugh her ass off if I demanded a sanction in advance.
Could you imagine? And that's what Trump demands when he's sitting in there. But I want to be clear about something so people fully understand what's really going on here and how this thing is at the. This isn't that there is a memo that goes out to all of the cabinet members, reminding them that before they talk about whether it's Lutnick with Commerce or it's Bessent with Treasury or it's going to be Phelan with the Secretary of the Navy, or it's going to be,
the Secretary of Ag, the Ag lady, she's insane.
Or the Agriculture, where it says, before you talk about the issues that you are handling, make sure that you blow enough smoke up the president's ass so that he at least nods and shakes his head. No, that's not what he does. It's an unwritten rule. And they share it amongst each other. It's the old monkey see, monkey do routine where, it's coming straight from the top, whether it's coming down from J.D. Vance and going down all the way to, Newsmax. It doesn't make a difference to a journalist, where Caroline Levitt is only calling now on individuals that, the president deems worthy to ask, at briefing and talk about stupidity and nonsense. You got to give Caroline Levitt, as I like to call her, bullshit Barbie. You got to give her a lot of credit. She's really fucking good at what she does, which is to be a spin doctor. That's what she does. She spins a tale that is absolutely untrue in virtually everything that comes out of her mouth. My understanding is that the press secretary is there in order to provide America, the press, information on what's happening inside the White House to keep us up to date on certain events, including, for example, things like the Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump conversations regarding Ukraine, or talking about some of the other various different issues that are right now front and center. But no, it is one big giant bullshit defense of the indefensible. And she does it with a great smile, with a hair flip, right? And, with the ferocity, really, of like a mother bear protecting her cub. Oh, I just spoke to the president about that. Shame on you for even asking that. It is absolutely okay to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z, right? You want, for example, Venezuelans, the MS-13, you want them to rape, murder, kill people in your community. What sort of a human being are you? And also you're like, wait, we're talking about First Amendment due process rights. We're talking about Stephen Miller's comments about doing away with habeas corpus.
Right.
That's not even the question, but she doesn't even allow the follow-ups.
No.
The whole thing is a giant waste of everyone's fucking time with misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation at the worst. In fact, I even said it the other day. I believe that people like Steve Miller, when he goes on, I believe when Caroline Leavitt gets up there at the press briefings, though she does a great job in defending him, they're actually hurting the president and the administration worse than Trump is hurting himself.
Because of their shameless lying?
Yeah. And because even when they lie, they're not even on the same page in many instances as Trump's lies. So all it does is, the old expression, a lie begets a lie.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here.
Yeah. And I think we've seen this like degradation of that position from Sean Spicer through Sarah Huckabee Sanders, through Stephanie Grisham for a minute, through Kayleigh McEnany. And what they have learned is that leaning into the shamelessness, leaning into the lie, just lie. Who cares about fact checking? Who cares about follow-ups? No, it doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. They used to be beholden adjacent to things like facts and truth. And we've seen with each progressive each press secretary that they've moved further and further away from it to the point where now she just stands up there and aggressively, shamelessly, unabashedly lies, provably lies. But this mantle of mistruth and disinformation is crucial to them being able to accomplish so much of the other authoritarian playbook shit, because that's where you really seize control. When 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4 anymore, then they can shape your mind in whatever version of their own making they want. And that's part of the goal. And she is an extremely adept, person for that. And it's gross. And I wouldn't want anyone in my life like that. But so if you want to compliment her, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, great, good job.
Listen, coming from that world, I have seen many people come and go, try to do what she is accomplishing, and they are not successful. Kayleigh McEnany, who I think went to Harvard Law, Sean Spicer, who came out of that government, Reince Priebus is the one that brought him in. Even Scaramucci, who could not last because he refused to do what is required in that job, which is to debase yourself and to lie.
Yeah.
And to lie the way that they do. She is so good at it. And again, I'm coming from that world where I've seen people come and go who have tried.
Yeah.
She really stands in a very unique position as being highly adept at it. And she's very young too. I mean, Hope Hicks was terrible at it.
Hope Hicks wasn't the press secretary though.
No, she wasn't press secretary. She was just part of the press, Trump's press team. But she was terrible at it because having to rewrite something 1,000 times because she was like, well, I can't write that because it's not right, and so on. And then ultimately things would get changed and written where it was not right, but it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
This young lady, Bullshit Barbie,
Yeah.
is the best that I have seen so far.
Yeah, that's really saying something, because again, it's not a compliment in the traditional terms. It really speaks to her depravity, and that's the whole thing. And that's what he's really surrounded himself by.
The JoJo, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is it her depravity, or is it the administration's? She's doing her job.
Well, she's making her own choices. I mean, she's ultimately accountable to her choices. So yeah, it's her depravity. She doesn't have to do that job. She could do a million other jobs. She could be a greeter at Walmart. She could change the urinal cakes in the fucking truck stop at the goddamn Pennsylvania border. I don't care if she's a stay-at-home mom. I don't care if she sells pictures of her fucking feet online. I don't give a shit. She chose this, and that reflects on her. And so yeah, it does speak to her depravity. And she wants.
I agree with
yeah. So fuck her. But
I
also
agree with you on that. But I still hold, to be honest with you, I hold it as the administration. This is, what, yeah, I agree. She, how many people would walk away from that job? It's easy for people to say, I would, until you're in that scenario, but I still have to compliment her. Having seen hundreds of people come and go, try to do it, hundreds. From the Jason Millers, even to Stephen Miller, they don't have her bullshit capability. She's on a level all of her own.
It's like saying, like, oh, she's the best Darth Maul. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I guess maybe I get you, and I hear what you're saying, but it really does again speak to how far they have. How far.
Joe, I'm trying to be a little tongue in cheek.
Oh, I got you. No, she's well, yes, and I appreciate that about you. That's why we communicate the way we do. But let's pivot really fast before we close, because as I said, I just had Harry Dunn on, who was our mutual friend, and something Harry and I talked about was something a little bit different. That's not politics, although it is just as divisive in some cases, but not when it comes to New York Knicks. But the segue to, you too are a Yankees fan because you are a smart man, you are well educated, and you know the way the world works, and so you've chosen the right baseball team. And so Harry said that you wanted to go with him to a Yankees game. And I said, I want to go to a Yankees game with you, Harry. And then I said, we should all go to a Yankees game. So I'm going to put you totally on the spot now, because now this is going to be public. I'm going to put it out there for all the world to see. And they're going to be expecting this epic Yankees game where it's going to be me and you and Harry. And maybe we can get George Conway to go.
No. And Michael.
Oh, wait, I didn't know if he's a Yankees fan.
Well, no, but I invited him to come, and he said, I wanted. Yeah. 100%. In fact, I went last night to the epic ass kicking of the Mets, even though, listen, I'm not an anti-Mets guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm always in New York. But, and I happen to like Steve Cohen. I actually think he's a great owner. But, I am and have been for, forever, a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Good Subway Series.
Yeah. And
happy Yankees pulled out.
Oh yeah, we won the series. That's all I care about. But you have your own. Here's my swag. So I have many bobbleheads, but this is Garrett Cole's site.
Right back.
Michael's gonna show. We're gonna have show and tell Yankees swag. And while Michael goes to get his Yankee swag, which is much more significant than my Garrett Cole Cy Young bobblehead, I'll continue to talk because I love the Yankees, but I was a Mets fan as a kid. I was a Mets fan, diehard Mets fan in '86 when everybody in New York was diehard Mets fan. And I changed affiliations when my son was a kid because he was going to root for the New Jersey Devils, and he can't do that. Hi. Okay. Show and tell time. So I showed my Garrett Cole Cy Young Award bobblehead, which I don't know.
I'm sorry.
How's that?
Oh. I'm sorry.
Wait, Michael, what was that on your hand? Was it a bug?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it a scarab of some kind?
I'm not really sure.
Is that are those infinity stones? What is that on your hand, Michael Cohen?
I'm sorry. What is that? I think that maybe there's something like making me itch.
You might have scabies. I don't know. You might want to go check that out. Michael Cohen, look at this. I did not know you won championships with the New York Yankees, but I am impressed.
Of course I did.
those are so cool. Yeah, I mean, you need to be Tom Brady and have him on all the fingers, but yeah, that is fucking badass.
Unfortunately, the Yankees don't have enough for all your fingers. Well, if you go back all the way.
All the way. Yeah. Last year, God, that broke my heart. It broke my heart. But all right, we're gonna set up a date and we're gonna have a follow-up podcast episode where we all go and we take Yankee Stadium over. We'll pick a game we can all go to and we'll live stream.
Well, by the way, that's what I had said to both Harry and to Michael Finone. I said, let me know when you plan on coming into New York, and I will secure us some tickets here, for the Yanks, and we can all go there and root for the home team.
Home team. If they don't win it, it's 1-2. And that's the thing about baseball, Michael. I'm going to close it on this. The world is inside out, upside down, and on fire, and it is dark, and it can be really depressing, and it can be overwhelming. And we've had very bad news related to Joe Biden and over, yesterday into today, and that hit me really hard. But I will just sort of say that baseball is restorative, baseball is cathartic, baseball is unifying, and baseball is medicine. And I get really emotional. Yeah, I love that sport in a way that I've never loved another sport, and I love hockey like a lot. But when you're there and you're in the crowd and you don't give a shit about how anybody who's rooting for the same team as you votes, you don't care about their policies or their, ideologies, you don't give a shit. You're unified in one end, and that end is to see your team do well, excite you, win the game, play well, and have fun. And whenever I leave, I walk away with a new reaffirmed sense of hopefulness, no matter what, even if we lose, because we are able to do that as Americans. We are able to find a way to find our common threads, to connect to each other, and where nothing else actually matters. And that's what baseball means to me.
Yep. For the few hours that you sit there, everything else sort of becomes irrelevant. So,
yeah,
JoJo, I'm looking forward to all of us getting together.
Yes, me too. Michael, let's tell everybody where they can find you and support you and find your work.
Oh, you could check out my Substack. I put out an article every single day, like what JoJo and I were talking about. That was 2 different articles over the last 2 days. The one that I wrote yesterday about Pope Leo the 14th's homily, was spectacular. I mean, that one really touched a nerve because, his homily was all about peace and love and understanding and compassion, obviously something that we're not seeing too much of. And so in my sort of Michael New York kind of way, I sort of dissect it to this administration. So it is kind of fun and interesting, but it's very informative. So check me out at Substack, the hero Michael Cohen. And you could also check out my shows on Monday. I have it with Jim Acosta. Tuesday, I have it every day. Tuesday with Don Lemon. Wednesday with Joe Walsh. Thursday, Lev Parnas, Malcolm Nance. Friday with Jolly Good Ginger. And then I constantly call JoJo, as well, and I have other folks like Norm Eisen and Harry Littman and you name it, as many folks as we can get on, because every day I want to be able to bring us as a community bigger. I want to make the community so big that there's no one or nothing that can stop us from a massive blue tidal wave coming 2026. Without that, who knows?
Yeah, I hear you 1,000%. And you're killing it over there, just climbing up the charts every day because there's nobody who says what you say in the voice that you say it. So,
number 14.
Damn. That's amazing. I'm very proud to be your friend and to know you, and proud to have the association, and proud to be over on Substack with you. Thank you, Michael Cohen. That concludes this episode of the all-new Sanish podcast. Thank you guys very much for all your support, and see you next time. Bye, Michael.
Bye, JoJo.
That's a wrap for this episode of Sanish. Huge thanks to Michael Cohen for joining me today and helping us cut through the noise, the spin, and the never-ending circus of American politics. Michael, your insight and honesty are always appreciated. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to rate, follow, and share Sane-ish with your friends. Your support helps us build this community and bring a little more sanity to the world, one episode at a time. Don't forget to connect with me on social media. I'm at JoJo from Jers on Twitter, Substack, and Blue Sky. I love hearing from you, so send me your thoughts, questions, or just say hi and let me know what's keeping you sane-ish these days. Thank you for tuning in, for caring, and for being a part of this journey. Remember, no matter how wild the headlines get, we're in this together. Keep holding on to hope, keep searching for the truth, and keep fighting for a little more sanity in this crazy world. Until next time, stay strong, stay sane-ish, and take care of each other.